Allow me to introduce myself.
I am the last sane sports fan.
I am a genius by trade.
I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Possibly.
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to The View from the Midwest. Well, let's get rolling right off the bat here. We'll start off with the AL-NL All-Star Game. That's right, a little bit of baseball. I don't care. Moving on. No, in all serious, though, I used to actually kind of like the Major League Baseball All-Star Game. As far as the All-Star Game goes, I'm going to keep it quick. It's kind of a joke. I mean, as I said, I used to like the All-Star Game because even though I still consider myself a younger person, I am old enough to remember when this was interesting because you never saw the American League teams. If you lived in a National League city or if you lived in an American League city, you never saw the National League players. So therefore it was interesting to see the best of one league go up against the best of another. Now it just seems like with the advent of fan balloting, just being able to stuff the ballot box just completely insane. You used to have to go to ball games and actually punch the little holes with the hanging chads coming out the back and everything. Now you can vote like 50 times with one email address online, and then when it came to Twitter you could vote as long as you wanted. To me it's just become a joke, and it's lost its luster, but it's deciding home field advantage, which I think is ridiculous. I love hockey. I love football. But I don't want the Pro Bowl or the NHL All-Star Game or the NBA All-Star Game, which is a ridiculous score fest in which they get up close to 150 points anymore. I don't want those deciding home field or home court or home ice advantage in the playoffs, in the finals of whatever sport you choose to follow. Baseball has a proud, rich tradition. I just don't think that home field advantage in something as important as the World Series should be decided on basically what amounts to an exhibition game. Baseball obviously feels differently. They feel that it adds spice to it. Fox is definitely doing their job in trying to push the fact that, oh, this game matters, because I mean all of the commercials leading up for this game have basically been like, oh, this is the all-star game of all-star games because this one matters, this one decides something. Who cares? I mean, quite frankly, baseball has had this whole thing screwed up to begin with. They alternated home field advantage for quite a few years instead of just doing it. I mean, especially now with the advent of interleague play where teams are playing each other across leagues and what have you. Just give it to the team with the best record in baseball. And moving on, let's talk a little bit about soccer. I know people are probably like, if they're not soccer fans, they're like, oh my God, you've done like 3 or 4 episodes in a row where it's been mainly soccer. Well, deal with it. It's my show. The United States has decided to not include Josie Altidore in the knockout rounds of the Gold Cup. We'll get to their performance here in just a few minutes, but I wanted to touch on this very quickly. They also dropped Hector Morales and Greg Garza. They're going to bring in Alan Gordon, DeMarcus Beasley, and the third name escapes me right now. All 3 of them are probably names that aren't necessarily going to play unless injuries or fatigue dictated. I was a little bit disappointed in Alan Gordon being named on there just because I would like to see Juan Agudelo. He was playing very high rated in the beginning of the MLS season. He's kind of tapered off here as the Revs have later on towards the summer. But I've got nothing against Alan Gordon. My only problem with him really is that he's not even starting for the LA Galaxy. Now, I mean, that's going to be very difficult when you've got Jossie Zardes and Robbie Keane and Jose Villarreal all in front of you. He's come in and he scored some huge goals for them off the bench. So maybe that's what his role will be for the United States. Maybe he's just going to try to be a super sub. But still, I would have liked to have seen a different direction taken right there. But ultimately, that isn't anything. we're in control of. We can pick and choose who we want, but ultimately Jurgen Klinsmann is bringing in who he thinks is going to be able to help this team. That being said, I am a little bit skeptical of the reasoning behind getting rid of Josie Altidore. He was absolutely non-existent. He has no left foot, apparently, whether that is his normal style of play or whether that is something more recent. There were two clear, great chances where if he would have struck it with his left foot, he could have had a goal, and instead he tried to cut it back, right back into the defense to put it on his right. He's not in his right mind right now. People are claiming that it is still the hamstring injury lingering, and I hope that is the case because, quite frankly, I don't think it is. I think that since he has come back to MLS, although he has actually produced reasonably well for Toronto, he's only played 12 games, but he's scored 6 goals. I mean, if you're scoring about a goal every other game, that's not too bad. But I don't think his fitness levels since he's joined the MLS has been where it needs to be. I think that is where England was good for him. Maybe he wasn't playing well, maybe he wasn't playing at all, but at least he was forced to keep up his fitness, and then he would come into the national team and score goals. Now all of a sudden he's going over to MLS, and we haven't seen that same turnover with the national team where it's like, okay, maybe his form isn't great there, but he comes in and scores goals for the United States. I wish all the best for him. A lot of people are starting to get on his case, understandably so, given the results that he's had. He's kind of one of those players that where Klinsmann is sticking with him for right now, and given his potential, given what we have seen, what his ceiling is, it's understandable. But given the flat, cold results, it's starting to get to be to where I could see Gazardes, I could see Morris, I could see Johansson, I could see Bobby Wood making their case to where maybe Josie Altidore isn't the stone cold, set in stone forward every time you fill out that lineup sheet. On to the United States performance. Still very disappointing. They got a draw. They really didn't need any kind of result out of the game last night. But it's just the way things are happening. Actually, I mean, as much as people were bagging on the team last night against Panama, I thought they played better overall against Panama than they had the previous couple games. The thing that's still disappointing, though, is there's just something missing from this team right now. To me, this is just, there's something wrong with this team, and it's not necessarily, oh, well, they're just playing poorly. Oh, well, they were just kind of looking through the group phase and hoping to kind of get through that, and then they'll worry about stuff in the knockout round. No, to me, this seems like there's something just not gelling with this current roster. The way things are going. Perhaps they didn't think that the Central American and Caribbean teams and what have you were going to put up the fight that they did. Maybe they're getting a little full of themselves after having knocked off a couple European giants in friendlies. Maybe they came back to CONCACAF and didn't necessarily know the work that they were going to have to put in to pull off results. And I hope that that does not continue into the knockout phase, because as it stands right now, the United States has done enough to win, but you're going to steadily play better opposition. You can't necessarily have those slow starts. You can't have the giveaways in midfield. You can't give up those kind of counterattacks. You can't expect Brad Guzan or Tim Howard or whoever you have in goal, whether it's the World Cup, Gold Cup, what have you. You can't expect your goalkeeper to bail you out every single time. And that goes to another point. I love Jurgen Klinsmann. I did a piece on yesterday's video where I think he's the best option for this team going forward, even longer than most people would give him credit for. The one thing that I don't like is his sudden insistence on John Brooks and Alvarado being the center back pairing. To me, neither one is up to the task right now. Perhaps they will be further on in their futures. But the thing that I don't understand is it seems to be kind of a catch-22. He wants everybody playing well coming into the team. Now all of a sudden when it comes to Alvarado and Brooks, he's willing to say, well, they're young, they need to gel, they need to play together. Well, up until the World Cup, you hadn't played the same defensive line in any of the lead up to the World Cup. And then all of a sudden now you're saying, well, we need to let these two players grow together. I'm fine with them as players. Everybody who wears a United States jersey, puts that crest on their chest, I want them to succeed. And I believe most people do. But Alvarado has been terrible. He has been the reason for at least one goal in every single game the United States has played so far. Now, you could place other blame on other players in the lead-up, but he has figured into one goal in every single game. You cannot have that. You are supposed to be a defensive back, a center back for the United States, one of the favorites to win this tournament. You're giving up goals because you can't seem to find your head where you're supposed to be looking, where your body's supposed to be in position and everything. You just can't have that, regardless of whether he's worried about John Brooks or worried about his own game. The bottom line is Alvarado has been the cause of some goals given up. John Brooks obviously hasn't played very well either. Timmy Chandler, he played well. Well, I shouldn't say played well. He played okay against Panama. In game number 1, he didn't play well at all. The defensive lineup for this team has to find something to solidify themselves on. And it can't just be the fact that you've got speed up the wings in Johnson or Chandler or Yedlin if you want to play him out there in a defensive back role. You need to start solidifying themselves as a defensive force the way America used to be. Now, I'm not saying that they need to be just hammerheads like Balboa and Lawless and those players used to be. But you do need to get a more defensive mentality. This idea that I'm going to go up and score goals. The United States does not need that. We don't need a David Luiz. They need defense to help out their goalkeepers, because quite frankly, if you're a tournament favorite and you're relying on one of your goalkeepers to make 5 saves against a Panamanian team who is decent but still not up to the level of Mexico or the United States, then these aren't the kind of things that you want going on. That is The View from the Midwest. What are your views on today's topics? Comment, rate, and subscribe on YouTube. Love to know what you want to talk about, maybe even in future videos, but definitely on today's topic. Comment on Facebook as well. Give us a thumbs up there also. But until the next time, I'll see you then.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo, and so much